The Little Green Frog. Chapter 13. An Important Discovery. The taxi pulled up in front of a big house. It was much bigger than Aunt Hannah's house, and there were 3 big barns behind the house with lots of neat white fences. There was a long gravel walk lined with flowers that led to the big front door. Biddy whispered a prayer again as they got out of the taxi. "Please, Jesus, please help Mr. Digby to understand." Aunt Hannah told the taxi driver to wait. Then they began the long walk up to the house. Biddy wanted to hold Aunt Hannah's hand, but Aunt Hannah was holding the wallet and would not put her hand down where Biddy could reach it. At last they came to the big door. Aunt Hannah rang the bell. They could hear chimes sounding inside. Then a man in a black suit opened the door. "Good morning, madam," he said. "May I help you?" "Is Mr. Digby in? We have a matter of business to discuss with him." The man said that Mr. Digby was in and asked them to come inside. They walked down a long hall, past many doors, and finally stopped. The man opened the door and announced, "The Mrs. Forrester to see you, sir." Mr. Digby was seated in a large, soft chair beside a fireplace, reading a book. He stood up and came to meet them. "How are you, Miss Forrester?" he said to Aunt Hannah. She answered that she was fine, but that she had some business and really didn't have much time. Then Mr. Digby saw Biddy and recognized her. "Well, well, my little friend from China, and how are you?" "I had the measles." "That is a shame, isn't it? You know, I've been waiting for you to come and visit me. I've been away for some time now, but I didn't forget that invitation, and I really meant for you to come sooner. I'm glad that you're finally here." "I didn't know that you and Bridget were acquainted, Mr. Digby," said Aunt Hannah, with a surprised look on her face. Mr. Digby smiled. "Oh yes, we are quite good friends, aren't we, Biddy?" Biddy nodded her head, but her lip was trembling, and tears were beginning to come to her eyes. "Mr. Digby," Aunt Hannah began impatiently, "Biddy has done something very wrong." She handed the wallet to him. "Biddy has had this in her dresser drawer for some time. She did not tell anyone about it. I feel disgraced that one of my own family would do this, and that it has been in my house all this time, causing you worry and inconvenience." "Well, this is strange. You don't look like a thief, little miss. Perhaps we should have a talk about this. Miss Forrester, if you would like to leave us alone, my chauffeur will drive Biddy home later." "If that is what you want, I certainly hope you can show Bridget that in England there are laws. I seem to have failed." She left the room. By now Biddy was crying quite hard. Mr. Digby brought up a smaller chair for her to sit on, near him and near the fire. He took her hand and led her to the chair, while she tried to stop the tears. Finally she stopped and he said, "Now, tell me all about what happened." I was sick. I had the measles, but I didn't know right then. I went out to play with Jock, and I found your wallet in the road with lots of money in it. First I thought God sent it to me, because I've been trying to make money to send to the hospital in China. But I knew it belonged to someone else first, and I didn't know what to do. And then I got real sick and forgot about it. Aunt Hannah found it today and thought I took it on purpose. She wouldn't listen to me." "I see. Aunt Hannah didn't want you to get into trouble over it, and that is good. And it is good that you came to see me. You mentioned a hospital in China. Where is it, and who manages such a place?" "It isn't built yet. My mummy and daddy work in China, but they only have a clinic, no hospital. Amma told me that when I came to England, I'd find lots of money, that I could send it to China to build a hospital. Jock has been helping me. We have quite a bit already. We sold plums and cut caterpillars and babysat. That's how I got the measles." Mr. Digby laughed. "You have been busy. So you wanted to send the money to China for a hospital. Tell me, did your Aunt Hannah tell you about the reward that was offered for the return of the wallet?" "No," answered Biddy. How much money have you and Jock made for the hospital? He asked. Biddy thought. There was the plums, $2.73. And there was caterpillars, $1.32. And babysitting, $1 each. And sewing, $1. And Maria and Mrs. Camp, that was $6. How much is that altogether? That's over $13, said Mr. Digby. You've worked hard, haven't you? Biddy nodded. Well, the reward is almost 5 times that much. The reward is $60. What will you do with that? It is yours because you returned the wallet, after taking good care of it all this time. Oh, I'll send it to China, said Biddy happily. That should be enough to build a hospital, don't you think? Not quite, said Mr. Digby, laughing. Don't you want to buy anything for yourself? I have lots of things. The Chinese people don't have anything at all. They get sick all the time. I'd rather give them money to build a hospital. Besides, then they can hear about Jesus. Do you know about Jesus? Asked Mr. Digby. Oh, yes, he's my very best friend. I asked him to help you understand, and he did, didn't he? And Jock believes in Jesus too. Just the other day he asked Jesus to be his friend. Do you know what you should have told someone about the wallet? Biddy's head drooped a little. Yes, I should have told Maria right away. I guess I wanted the money too much. It is wrong to get things in the wrong way, even if it is for a good cause. But I know you did not mean to keep the wallet for yourself, and so I am going to give the reward money to you. Do you want to take it with you when you go? If I may, please. I have a box that I'm keeping the money in. $60 will fill it up. That's enough business, said Mr. Digby, leaning back. Tell me all about China. Biddy told him about her parents' clinic, about Amma, and about her frog. I've been noticing that frog, said Mr. Digby. He looks like he might be worth a lot of money. You should be careful not to lose him. I did lose him once. Jock was mad, before he had Jesus to help him fight giant temper, and he threw Froggy into the woods. But God brought him back to me. Amma gave him to me, and I wouldn't want to lose him. Would you loan Froggy to me for a few days? I have a friend who knows about Chinese jade, and he would know if Froggy is made out of jade or some other stone. It might be that you could sell Froggy and get quite a lot of money for your hospital. Biddy looked down at the frog. I don't know if I could do that, she said quietly. Would you like me to find out if he is valuable? Then you can decide what to do with him. Biddy nodded and handed the frog to Mr. Digby, who placed it on the mantelpiece over the fireplace. When he stood up, Biddy noticed that the book he had been reading when they came in was a Bible. Mr. Digby, she exclaimed, you're reading the Bible. Is Jesus your friend too? He certainly is, said Mr. Digby with a smile. We've been friends for a long time. I'm glad I came to see you, even if I was afraid. Well, you're not afraid any more. Why don't we go and see what Mrs. Prentice is having for lunch today? She is my housekeeper, and she's a fine cook. Together they walked down the long hall and into the small dining room, where a friendly lady in a red and white dress brought them their lunch. After they had eaten, Mr. Digby took Biddy all around the large farm. She rode a horse and played with the dogs and looked at Mr. Digby's collection of rare birds. Jock would like to see all of your animals. He lives on the Browns' farm and likes it very much. The next time you come to visit me, you may bring him along. I'm sure he's a fine boy. I think I'd better go now, said Biddy. Aunt Hannah wouldn't want me to stay too long. All right, come inside and I'll give you your reward money. I'll write a note to your aunt so that she will know that I understand what happened and that the money is to be yours. Thank you very much, she said. I try to be good, but Aunt Hannah doesn't always understand. Your Aunt Hannah hasn't had a little girl in her house before. I have, I know what little girls are like. My little girl went to be with her mother and the Lord Jesus in heaven, but I remember quite well what it is like to have children in the house. You must try to help your Aunt Hannah. She is learning something new. I'll try harder, Mr. Digby. She's very nice to me. Perhaps your Aunt Hannah needs to learn about the Lord Jesus too. We shall have to pray for her, won't we? Biddy nodded, and they went into the house again. Soon Biddy was on her way home in a big car with a cheque for $60 in one hand and a note from Mr. Digby in the other hand. Biddy wondered what Aunt Hannah would think. Aunt Hannah was at her desk. Biddy came in slowly and stood away from her. When she turned around, Biddy handed her the note from Mr. Digby and also the cheque. Aunt Hannah read the note carefully, a frown on her face. Finally, she sighed deeply. Mr. Digby said that you were a delightful guest and a fine girl, that you never intended to keep the money for yourself, and that the reward money is yours. I'm afraid I must say that I am sorry, Biddy. I was very unkind to you. That's all right, Aunt Hannah. You were trying to do what was right. Thank you for your forgiveness, Biddy. I think we should open an account at the bank for you. This cheque will be a good start towards your education in the future. Oh no, Biddy said quickly. I want it for the hospital in China. Mr. Digby said I could use it for that. Well, we shall have to write and ask your parents about that. Meanwhile, we'll put all the money in your bank where it will be safe. Do you think that is a good idea? I don't know. I just want it to get to China. Don't worry about that now. Aunt Hannah looked at Biddy's pockets and her hands. Where is your frog? Have you lost him again? No, Mr. Digby asked to borrow him for a day or two. He wants to find out if Froggy is worth money. Aunt Hannah was surprised. If I had had an idea he was valuable, I would have been more careful of where you took him, she said. Biddy had to go to bed early that night, because she still wasn't over all the measles. What an exciting day it had been. She wondered about her frog. What would she do if he was worth a lot of money? And she was so glad to find out that Mr. Digby loved Jesus and that he had been kind to her. And Jock was invited to come and see the farm. With so many good thoughts in her mind, Biddy fell asleep quickly.